By 2 p.m., Patricia Winters had escalated from clipboard citations to psychological warfare. First came the ominous yellow violation sticker slapped on his windshield, then the passive-aggressive community patrol drive-bys, each slower than the last. The couple grace arrived at 3:45, a tow truck that Marcus convinced to leave only by flashing his badge when Patricia wasn't looking. Through it all, Marcus maintained his surveillance, documenting the arrival of a known money courier at Carrera's back door. This case was too important to abandon. The Bureau had linked Carrera to over $30 million in laundered cartel money. If they could catch him in the act of a handoff, they'd have their smoking gun. At 4:17 p.m., Patricia emerged from her Tudor-style home across the street, phone pressed to her ear and a victorious smile spreading across her face. She paced her driveway, gesticulating wildly, occasionally pointing at Marcus's truck with the ferocity of a general commanding an artillery strike. "Control, I think our HOA friend is calling it in," Marcus reported as he observed a black Escalade with tinted windows pulling into Carrera's driveway. "Right on schedule. Potential deal happening now. Request permission to maintain position despite local interference." "Permission granted," came the response in his earpiece. "But if PD shows up, you'll have to abort." Marcus zoomed his camera on the Escalade just as Patricia marched toward his truck with renewed purpose. "The authorities have been notified about this suspicious vehicle," she announced loudly enough for the entire neighborhood to hear. "They're very concerned about an unmarked truck watching our homes." Inside Carrera's open garage, two men froze at Patricia's words, looking directly at the truck. Marcus cursed under his breath as one man whispered to Carrera, who immediately began glancing around nervously. "Ma'am, please lower your voice," Marcus urged, but Patricia was on a roll. "I've reported your license plate, vehicle description, and suspicious behavior," she continued, pulling out her phone. "Would you like to explain yourself to me, or to the police officers who are currently en route?" The men in Carrera's garage quickly retreated inside, taking with them the duffel bag that might have contained the evidence Marcus needed. Through his earpiece, he heard his supervisor, "Cover blown. Prepare for emergency execution of search warrant." The Oakwood Estates emergency HOA meeting was standing room only. Residents who had previously avoided these gatherings like a tax audit now packed the community center, buzzing with excitement. Patricia Winters sat alone at the board table, her usually immaculate appearance showing signs of strain, a wrinkled blouse, hair slightly askew. "I moved to discuss the incident on Magnolia Drive," called out Mrs. Rodriguez from the back row. "Specifically how our HOA president's actions compromised a federal investigation and made our neighborhood the laughingstock of the evening news." Patricia flinched as a video clip made the rounds on several phones. A news reporter standing outside their community gates, where overzealous HOA enforcement led to the premature arrest of suspected money launderer Vincent Carrera. FBI sources claim key evidence was destroyed after their surveillance was exposed by a homeowner's complaint about parking violations. "The board recognizes the motion," Patricia said weakly, her authority evaporating like morning dew. The community center doors swung open, and a hush fell over the crowd as Agent Marcus Reeves entered, accompanied by his supervisor, Special Agent Diana Chen. Patricia seemed to physically shrink in her seat. "We'd like to address your community," Agent Chen announced, striding to the front. "Despite the unconventional circumstances, I'm pleased to inform you that Vincent Carrera and 4 associates have been charged with money laundering, tax evasion, and conspiracy." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. While certain evidence was destroyed, Chen continued, with a pointed glance at Patricia, "Mr. Carrera's panic led to mistakes. He attempted to flush financial documents that our lab has reconstructed, actually strengthening our case." Marcus stepped forward. "We also want to officially inform you that those ASOL lawn flamingos at 722 Magnolia were actually disguised FBI surveillance equipment. They captured crucial evidence over the past 3 months. And yes, we're aware they violated the HOA's lawn ornament restrictions." Laughter erupted as Patricia sank lower in her chair. So the basketball hoop that Mrs. Winters made the Thompsons take down. Someone called out. Standard Bureau equipment, modified with cameras. Marcus confirmed with a straight face. Very regulation height. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, with residents demanding Patricia's resignation and immediate revisions to the HOA bylaws, Marcus slipped out. In the parking lot, he passed Patricia's car, now sporting a neon orange boot on its wheel and a massive violation sticker on the windshield. Attached was a note. Parking in a federal investigation zone. Fine. One public apology and resignation. Regards, your neighbors. 3 months later, when the Oakwood Estates newsletter announced its new live and let live approach to community governance under the leadership of retired Judge Mrs. Rodriguez, an unmarked Ford F-150 was spotted cruising through the neighborhood, and not a single resident reached for their phone to report it. Special Agent Marcus Reeves sipped his lukewarm coffee and adjusted the hidden camera embedded in his Ford F-150 side mirror. From his vantage point across from 738 Magnolia Drive, he had a perfect view of Vincent Carrera's Spanish-style mansion, the suspected nerve center of a multi-million-dollar money laundering operation. 3 days of surveillance had yielded promising results. Twice daily visits from known cartel associates, mysterious late-night deliveries, and enough photographed handshakes to suggest something far more illicit than Carrera's claimed business of luxury import consulting. Suspect emerging. Marcus muttered into his wrist mic as Carrera stepped onto his immaculate front porch in a silk bathrobe, collecting his morning newspaper. Just as Marcus snapped a series of photos, a sharp rapping on his window nearly caused him to drop his camera. Outside stood a petite woman in her mid-50s with an ash-blonde bob so geometrically precise it could have been measured with a protractor. Her lemon-yellow pantsuit matched the clipboard clutched against her chest, and her pearl earrings quivered with indignation. "Excuse me," she said in a voice that could slice through granite. "This is a restricted parking zone." Marcus lowered his window 2 inches. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm just waiting for someone." The woman's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. "That's what you said yesterday and Tuesday. I'm Patricia Winters, president of the Oakwood Estates Homeowners Association." She emphasized each syllable as if it were a prestigious government title. "Your commercial vehicle violates bylaw 7.32, and I've documented your presence for 72 hours now." She held up her phone, displaying a spreadsheet with timestamps of the truck's location, complete with color coding and multiple tabs. Marcus had seen less detailed surveillance reports at FBI headquarters. "I'll be moving shortly," he assured her, eyes darting to Carrera's house where the suspect was now on his phone, looking suspiciously in that direction. Patricia followed his gaze and huffed. "Mr. Carrera is a respected resident who has expressed concern about your presence. Either you move this eyesore immediately, or I'll be forced to take further action." As she marched away, Marcus radioed his team. "We've got a complication." The voice of his supervisor, Special Agent Diana Chen, crackled through his earpiece. "Define complication, Reeves." Local HOA president. Extremely persistent. "She's making a scene that's drawing our subject's attention." Marcus watched as Carrera lingered on his porch, phone to his ear, eyes now fixed directly on the truck. Carrera's definitely noticed. "Maintain position," Chen ordered. "Williams and Rodriguez are monitoring the back exit. We need those photos of the money handoff scheduled for 4:30. The warrant depends on it." Marcus adjusted his baseball cap lower over his eyes and reached for the cooler in his passenger seat. 3 days of surveillance had taught him to come prepared. Sandwiches, protein bars, a portable urinal disguised as a travel mug, a rookie mistake he'd only made once, and a stack of bogus paperwork for curious onlookers. Across the street, Carrera disappeared back into his mansion, but not before giving Marcus's truck one final, suspicious glance. The agent breathed a small sigh of relief. If Carrera made the scheduled meeting with his cartel contact, they'd have enough for the warrant. 3 months of investigation, 2 undercover operations nearly blown, and 1 agent in the hospital had led to this moment. He unwrapped his turkey sandwich just as his burner phone buzzed with a text from headquarters. Local PD aware of our operation? Negative, Marcus replied. Why? County dispatcher reports call about suspicious vehicle at your location. Marcus swore under his breath. The HOA president worked fast. His rearview mirror revealed Patricia Winters standing in her front yard, arms crossed triumphantly, as she spoke into her phone while staring directly at his truck. Behind her manicured hedges, two identically dressed women with matching pearl earrings peered out like meerkats surveilling the savannah. Marcus quickly texted back, HOA committee. Need reinforcement story. Construction company. The response came immediately, sending Agent Patel as Oakwood Utilities Inspector. ETA 20 minutes. A movement across the street caught Marcus's attention. The side gate of Carrera's mansion swung open, and a gardener emerged pushing a wheelbarrow. Except this gardener wore designer loafers beneath his coveralls, the same shoes Marcus had photographed on Carrera's money courier last week. 12 minutes later, the quiet neighborhood erupted in a symphony of sirens as 3 police cruisers screeched to a halt behind Marcus's truck. Patricia stood by her mailbox, arms crossed triumphantly, as Officers Ramirez and Johnson approached with hands hovering near their holsters. Step out of the vehicle with your hands visible, Officer Ramirez commanded. Slowly now, added Johnson, clearly responding to the suspicious armed individual that dispatch had described. Marcus complied, hands raised, FBI credentials dangling from his fingers. Agent Marcus Reeves, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Officer, we have an active operation in progress. The officers exchanged glances, then approached to examine his identification. Patricia's smug expression faltered slightly as she strained to overhear their conversation. We received a 911 call about a suspicious individual conducting surveillance, Officer Ramirez explained while returning Marcus's credentials. Caller was quite insistent you were planning something nefarious. What's happening? Patricia demanded, abandoning her post by the mailbox. Why are you just talking to him? That truck has been here for days, photographing our homes. At that moment, a cavalcade of unmarked vehicles swarmed the street, agents in tactical gear pouring out with practiced precision. Through his earpiece, Marcus heard, execute now, probable cause, suspects destroying evidence. The neighbors emerged from their homes in various states of shock as FBI agents surrounded Carrera's mansion, bullhorns ordering everyone inside to exit with hands up. Patricia's face cycled through confusion, shock, and dawning horror. What is happening? Marcus removed his windbreaker, revealing the FBI letters beneath. Vincent Carrera is the target of a federal money laundering investigation. We've been building this case for months. He glanced at his watch. And we just had to move in approximately 3 hours ahead of schedule because our surveillance was compromised. As if on cue, agents emerged from Carrera's home escorting the handcuffed suspect and his associates. One agent approached Marcus, holding up an evidence bag containing a half-burned document. They were destroying evidence when we entered. Looks like financial records, but a lot is gone. Patricia's face had turned the color of chalk. I was just enforcing the parking regulations. Officer Johnson couldn't suppress a smirk. Ma'am, I believe the FBI outranks the HOA. Possible courier exiting west side of property, Marcus reported. Moving package disguised as gardening equipment. He grabbed his camera with the telephoto lens and began shooting, all while keeping an eye on Patricia, who was now rallying her troops. 2 more neighbors had joined her impromptu surveillance squad, all pointing at his truck with expressions ranging from suspicion to outright hostility. The gardener loaded the wheelbarrow into a van parked on the side street and drove away. Marcus captured the license plate just before it turned the corner. Courier vehicle heading north on Elm. Florida plate, Victor Echo Charlie 3292, he reported. Request mobile surveillance. Team 2 in pursuit, came the response. The next 20 minutes would be crucial. If they could trace the courier to the next drop point, they'd have another piece of the puzzle. If Patricia Winters escalated her neighborhood watch campaign before Agent Patel arrived with their cover story, the whole operation could unravel. Marcus's phone buzzed again with a notification. He opened it to find an email from Oakwood Estates HOA with the subject line, "Immediate violation notice, vehicle removal required." Attached was a 7-page PDF of the community guidelines, with Section 7.32 highlighted in alarming neon yellow. As if the email weren't enough, Patricia Winters was now marching back across the street, this time flanked by her parole lieutenants and a man in a golf shirt who appeared to be carrying a tape measure. Marcus radioed again, urgency in his voice. "Chen, how far out is Patel? The HOA army is advancing, and they're bringing measuring equipment."